Hey guys, Mikhail here from Device Deal. Today we're going to look at the new wireless DECT headsets from the Yealink range. I can tell you for myself that I've been testing these for the last couple of weeks and I've been really happy with them. Coming from someone that usually uses a wired system, I've been really happy with the flexibility, but we'll go into that a little bit later on. Alright, so now we're going to talk about the design and comfort of these headsets. Now we're looking at the first two here, which is the WH62 and the WH66 headsets. They're more or less identical, but main difference being is that the WH66 here has the interface screen, which you can actually make calls off as well, and it's also got the Bluetooth capabilities. So when it comes to the actual headset itself, I found it to be pretty much identical. I don't know if it's an actual fact or not, but I found that the 66 was slightly lighter, but sound quality was identical. The thing I also like about these is the fact that you can actually just move the headset up and down, which will activate the mute. So if you just switch it up, that actually just activates the mute nice and quick. So yeah, real easy access, to put the mute signal on. Then if we look at the WH63, which is the one on the end here, this one is, I guess, quite simple, but it's got a lot of versatility because you get 4 different connection types, which we'll go into further on. It looks quite basic, but it's really useful for guys that have very specific needs of how you want to wear the headsets. It's much more versatile. So now we're going to look at the connections of these phones. So they're pretty straightforward, as you can see. They've only got quite minimal buttons, but you know, a lot of buttons isn't necessarily required. When it comes to the headset themselves, if you're looking at the first two models here, they both have actually volume buttons, which they're not overly visible, but it's actually just on the silver part itself here. You can actually just click on the top for volume up and click on the bottom for volume down. You've also got the buttons over here that actually has the phone signal on them, which is actually just to answer your call, so which is pretty straightforward. And then, as I mentioned previously, you can actually just move the microphone up and down, which activates the mute. You've actually got a secondary button for mute as well, which is on the top of the bar there. Oops, sorry, I put that back. And then when it comes to the buttons on the actual base itself, they've just got 3 buttons really, and they're pretty straightforward. One is just to show, connection or answering calls or anything through your PC. One is through the phone itself. And then the purple button we've got here is for your Teams. So if you've got Microsoft Teams running on your computer or phones. Just a heads up, these phones actually come in 2 different versions. So you've got your Teams versions, which we're showing here, which just means that it's got certified to work with the Teams program, and then there's the UC models, which just works with anything. So feature-wise, there's actually no difference between the phones themselves. It's just that one is, got proper certification to work with a specific program. You'll find that you got that a lot with the Skype phones as well. So there'll be ones that are certified for Skype use, for example. Doesn't mean you can't use it with anything else. Just means that it's got that certification just to make sure that it works properly with the software. And then as we've gone through, so the screen, as I mentioned before, on the Supreme model there, you can basically go through things like you can actually dial calls as well. You can do some setting integration. It's pretty useful, but I would find that it's definitely more suited for people that are using it in the Bluetooth setting. So what I actually like about the 2 bottom models here is that you can connect it to both your PC and phone at the same time. So underneath they've got 2 connections, so they're just standard USB ports, but you can have one that goes to your PC and one that goes to your phone. So the thing that's really good about that is that they'll work at the same time. So for example, if I'm doing training or watching a video on my computer, if it's YouTube or whatever, and I'm playing sound and it's coming through the headset, if a call comes through and I answer that call, it'll immediately overtake it so that I can speak straight away, don't have to change any settings or anything like that. It'll just work instantly. And then the second I hang up that call, if the video is still playing, it'll just continue playing through there. So you don't have to do any changing settings or anything like that. It's just really straightforward, and it kind of juggles up all the devices real nicely. All right, so now we're going to have a look at the specs and features of these headsets. So if you're looking at the WH62 and 66 models, they've actually got a really good battery life and talk time. So you're getting a 14-hour talk time with these, as well as a 160-meter range with them on top. one thing I actually haven't mentioned yet is that they actually come in 2 different models as well. So not just the Teams versions as I mentioned, but you also get the mono and duo. So mono just meaning that there'll just be, I guess, one side coming out. So there'll just be one side with the one headphone, whereas the duo, you get it for both sides. As far as my experience goes, I found that while it's not necessarily noise cancelling, I did find that with the duo ones, it did muffle out the outside sound, and it actually does has noise cancelling on the microphone. So if you're talking into your microphone, the person on the other end is not going to hear really much or any of your background sound at all. I also found that with the 63 version, so which is the smaller one, it didn't really have as good of the sound quality, and it didn't have that noise cancelling stuff as much, but I guess the main reason you go for that version is the versatility, because you've got a lot more wearing styles and it's smaller, lighter, it's just more compact and portable. So the WH63 model actually has 4 different ways that you can use them. So you can see out the box, it just has the simple small Bluetooth looking device, but inside the box you'll actually get a smaller box which has your inner earpiece and your ear clip piece, so being 2 of the ways you can listen to it. Then you've also got your traditional over-ear connection type, and then also a neckband connection type. So as I mentioned, you get real flexibility in the ways you get to wear this. So I would say personally, for someone, if you're someone that likes to take calls and move around and go for walks, I think it's definitely a really good way to go, because it's easy, portable, it's comfortable, and it comes with different sizes of the earpieces as well. So for guys that have the bigger or smaller ears, you've got sizes that suits everything. All right, so we're going to finish up with the sound quality. So I may have mentioned it earlier, but the W62 and WH62 and WH66 versions I definitely thought had really, really good sound. The W63, which is the smaller one, still had pretty good sound, but definitely I'd rate these 2 as a higher level. And I guess it's pretty obvious just because it is a bigger unit, it's got a bit more, I guess, parts to it in the actual headset itself, whereas this is quite small. But on top of that, you can actually even use the WH63 like an overhead, because it does come with one of those attachments as well. But I may have mentioned it before, but the 2 headsets that look the same, the sound quality was pretty much identical. I couldn't really actually see too much of a difference. However, as someone like myself that usually uses a wired headset, one of the biggest things I found is that there was a slight lag, and I don't blame that on the headset itself. This is just coming from someone that's never really used a wireless headset system with a phone before. So I found that when I was speaking to someone, they would only hear the end of my sentence like a millisecond after I finished, or like slightly longer when I finished, and so it took them a bit longer to respond. So it doesn't really create much of an issue, but just something that I noticed personally. And again, that's nothing to do with the brand or the headset itself. I believe that's really just because it's going from a wired headset to wireless, where it has to travel that extra distance. On top of that, I'd also like to mention the real easy connectivity to the Yealink phones. So Yealink actually released a new range of phones. It's all the U series, which you can actually find on our website. They're replacing the superseded models, which are the S. So a lot of businesses use the S models like the T46S or T42S. Those have become discontinued and they've been replaced with phones like the T43U and T46U and etc. So with all the Yealink phones, not just the new ones, these can actually just connect straight plug and play. So I know some people would know that if you're using other brands like a Jabra or Plantronics or Poly headset, and you're using them with a Yealink branded phone, you're generally going to need to get some what they call EHS adapter to allow the phones to either link up or to allow you to use the buttons on the phone with the Yealink phones. So a really good feature of having a Yealink headset with the Yealink phones is that it will just be plug and play, no extra hardware is required. There is a software program you can download which just helps you, I guess, maintain and monitor the headset to get more get a bit more depth with the settings, and that's called the Yealink Connect app, which you can get through your PCs. But it's not required. You can use it without it, but it just helps to just get a bit more depth of knowledge of what's going on with your headsets. So to summarize, the new Yealink DECT wireless range for headsets is a really, I guess, useful, applicable, really strong performing headset, So this is one that, making comparisons on my last headsets, it's a huge jump and I definitely won't be going back. You've got heaps of compatibility and portability requirements, so especially with the WH63, you've got extremely good sound quality, and I guess really that unifying headset that you can use between your phones and the PC I found to be extremely helpful, and I believe will help everyone in the market. So I would highly recommend these, and I guess only way to try for yourself is to have a look on our website. We've got them currently going at some really good deals. So my name's Mikhail, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye guys.